Hi, and welcome to PACE TV, the PACE of San Diego. Our show today is called What Did I Think Would Happen? It is about how we adapt to new environments and new situations. Specifically, we are going to talk about what it is like to have lived in the United States and then move to a different country. What does it take to learn a new language and to deal with different money? What about a different form of government? What about favorite holidays and things like that? Here to help us understand some of those changes is an old friend of ours and a member of PACE, Dan Dorschel. Dan grew up in the U.S. and now lives in Denmark and just happens to be in the U.S. for a short time and has agreed to tell us about the changes for him. Welcome, Dan.
Thank you.
Let's get started. Now, you were born here in the United States.
San Mateo, California.
San Mateo, okay. And you grew up here in California?
No.
Oh, okay.
My father was in the service in South San Francisco, and I was born in 1945, October, and apparently they got sent home. And they put me on the train, the parents and myself, and I was 6 weeks old, and we went back to Michigan, where my mother is from.
Oh, wow.
So I grew up in Michigan, went through high school. The day after graduation, I drove my 1942 Oldsmobile nonstop with 3 friends from Grand Rapids to San Diego.
Oh my gosh. So how old were you then?
17 actually, because I started at San Diego State when I was 17.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Now, how did the move to Denmark come about then?
I volunteered at SeaWorld. Some friends of mine were working there, and I've been too much of a hippie to work there. They don't allow mustaches, and so that was impossible. But you could come down and work in the evening for free. So I would go down and help take care of sick animals, We moved a big killer whale with a huge crane. I got to feed the gray whale, Gigi. And, oh yeah. So then some of my friends moved to Denmark, and they needed a helper. And they called me. Well, actually, they sent a telegram. It was that long ago.
Okay.
They sent a telegram, and I said, okay, well, I could come for the summer. And I did. I had a little attaché case with 1 shirt in it, a pair of socks, and some extra underwear. And I flew to Denmark.
Wow.
I flew to Copenhagen.
Okay, so you go to a country, you have no idea what you're headed for. You have no understanding or ability to speak Danish. So what was that like? I mean, I must have been, I don't know, I'm thinking terrified at this point.
Oh, I certainly wasn't terrified. I do have Scandinavian blood in my body. So I'm kind of a laid back guy anyway. So you take it as it comes. And I was working every day. We had a dolphin show that we had to do that was located in the zoo in Copenhagen. And I had the responsibility of cleaning the basin every day. I had to go in the water, vacuum the basin. I had to take care of the water treatment. I had to train the animals, and I had to help do the shows. So I had plenty to do. I had basically no time to do much else. And then a journalist came, took some pictures, made an interview with us, and he said, oh, I'll show you around. So he took us around in Copenhagen. Then I started learning about the customs, the language, the food. I mean, I went to the grocery store, and I think, well, I can buy bread. I know what that looks like. And I thought, okay, I'll get this piece of cheese. So I buy this little square of cheese, and I get it home. It's not cheese. It's yeast. I can't read it, so I don't know what it is. Oh, okay. So, yeah, you learn as you go.
Okay. So your motivation to move then was basically that you had friends there that needed help, and so you decided why not and went. Now, you didn't stay in Denmark then, though, right? You came back to the United States, or did you stay in Denmark from then on, or how did you wind up?
Well,
what was your time frame in travels in the meanwhile?
Actually, I didn't travel. I lived in the zoo in Copenhagen. They bought a little trailer, and I think they took the goose that was in the thing there, and they probably ate it, and they put our trailer there, and it was right next to the dolphinarium. So we got to stay there. We had a key to the zoo.
Oh my God.
So tell a taxi driver at night, oh, where are you going? Oh, we got to go back home. I'm going to the zoo. What? Yeah, but it was fun. We could go around and see the animals. They had caretakers in the evening. So we'd go see the baby tigers and see them feed the different animals. But man,
Hmm.
and while we were in the zoo in Copenhagen, we met this really nice guy. He was doing research with harbor porpoises on another island, as he said. So I'm thinking a little tiny island with a palm tree, right? No, it wasn't quite like that. So he needed help. He needed help making a new water treatment system and then keeping the animals alive. I thought I could do that. So he said, okay, come on over. So January 1970, we went to his place and I decided to stay. So that was 17 years working at the university, taking care of harbor porpoises, 7 days a week.
Oh my God.
You can't send the animals out to McDonald's.
Yeah.
No, you have to be there and feed them
Somebody
fresh
has to feed
fish.
them. Yeah.
Yeah. So I did that for 17 and a half years.
Wow. Okay. Gosh, you got so much. I'm trying to think what about now you talked about buying the bread and then buying yeast, which you thought was cheese. So what were some of the other experiences like that for you? And I mean, you're dealing with a different kind of money. You're used to dollars, quarters, nickels, dimes, pennies here.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're trying to figure out how to make correct change and make sure you're not cheated when you get your change. And then how about learning what things were in the store? I mean, that must have been difficult. You don't speak the language. And then let's move from that to learning to speak Danish. And how did that come about?
Well, I ask a lot of questions. And when I was working at the university, what better place in the world to ask questions? They knew all the answers, and they would help me with the language. They would help me with the money. Anything I had questions about, I got answers. So people were extremely helpful. And in Denmark, the kids get English in school from the 4th grade all the way through high school. So basically, anyone that's, not too old speaks English, and they get American TV. God forbid, but they get American TV. So they see all these TV shows, they learn the language. So everybody speaks English. You go to the baker and say, I want one of those. They know what you're talking about.
Okay.
So, and the money, it wasn't really a problem. The krona, which is the crown, which is a symbol of Denmark. Now, Denmark went in the common market, but the one thing that they had an exclusion on was the money. They do not use the euro because that would destroy their identity. Their identity is the crown. And so they have the krona, which is the monetary base.
Their base for their money, like our dollar. Now, just recently, the Queen abdicated, and now her son is now the new king for Denmark. What is that form of government like for a citizen of Denmark? I mean, what impact did that have on you or your way of life or what you do or don't do?
Actually, not too much. The monarchy is very well liked and respected in Denmark. It's kind of a figurehead. They get an appanage from the government to keep them going, to their cars, the castles and all that stuff. That's paid for over the taxes. But it's a figurehead, and Denmark actually has the oldest continuous monarchy in Europe.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Now you brought up taxes, and that's one of the things, of course, that we hear about is the taxes are high. Are salaries commensurate with that? I mean, can you still make a decent living, and if you have to pay taxes? And what kind of benefits do you get? Do you think are outstanding or better than average as far as when you pay your taxes, and what do you get for your money?
I would say taxes are higher than here. There are deductions. Most people will probably pay at the end of the game probably 38, 40%, which seems high. But the benefits are great. We have free health care, if you will. We pay through the taxes. If you use it or not, you pay the taxes. The health care is excellent. So getting in the hospital, no cost. Getting to the doctor, no cost. Medicine, there's a small copay, probably 10%. And if you're really sick and use a lot of medicine, then you're over the max, then it's all free anyway. Um, Education is free. Now, kids go to school, go through grade school, get into high school, if you get the grades, of course. High school is free. You can actually, if you don't live at home, you can actually get a stipendium, about $600 a month, to go to school. Tax-free, don't have to pay it back. Go to college, exactly the same. You get the grades to go to college. You can go to college for 5 years on their dime. So kids get excellent education, they get excellent jobs, and then the wages are good, they pay taxes, they're paying my pension. That's a great investment, actually.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, that was an interesting point you brought up, because it's something I've heard and wondered about too, and that is the education. Now, it's not like here where it's compulsory that everybody goes through until you're 15 or 16. I don't remember what it is now, but so there it depends on your grades whether or not you will go to high school, or is everybody is just automatically goes to high school?
It's not automatic. You have to make the grades.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and they have a lot of vocational schools also.
That was my next question.
Yeah, they do, and they're actually very good. The university also excellent. There's actually just one university in Denmark, but it's split up in different cities.
Oh, okay.
So they'll have branches here and there. It's kind of like the University of California.
Okay.
They have San Diego, whatever.
Yeah.
So it's the same idea. And the schools are excellent. The teachers are excellent. And most of them are using English textbooks.
Okay.
So you want to study to be a doctor, it's no problem because everything's in English.
Wow. All right. What about housing and a job and that sort of thing?
To get a job, you have to have work permission. You just can't go across the border and get a job. But I don't think it's difficult, depending. Now, I was a dolphin trainer.
Right.
I was the only one in Denmark, so I had no problem getting work permission. And now, as a permanent resident, I have no problems with working. You're allowed to work.
Okay. What kind of things are different, and did it take getting used to?
Well, in Denmark, we have a lot of holidays.
Okay, I was going to ask about holidays. So that's
Holidays are really interesting. I think we have almost double as many as they do here in the United States. We have a short work week. They changed the work week to 35 hours a week, and then all these holidays. So there's lots of free time, which is amazing. It took a while to get used to that, actually. Now, of course, feeding animals, I had to be there anyway, but it was quite a change, actually. People are, going to their summer cottage, 3-day weekends here, 3-day weekends there. There's Christmas Day. Well, then there's second Christmas Day, right? There's Easter, then there's the second Easter Day, and then you have your Good Friday is a holiday, so most people are not working on Saturday. So it's a 4-day weekend.
Wow.
So there's certainly a whole ton of benefits of living in Denmark, and the people are friendly and helpful. I love that.
Okay, what about learning the language? How did that go? How did you evolve into that? I was curious about how people learn. When you're there, I mean, you're immersed, so you don't have a choice. Of course, as you said, a lot of people in Europe speak English, so you can get by even if you don't speak the language. But speaking the language is always, when I've traveled, I've always tried to learn at least how to say hello and good morning in whatever language in the country I was going to, just because people say, it's better if you can do that, because then people are are kinder to you than if you are the rude America, which many of us are. So,
well, my boss at the university spoke 7 languages.
oh my gosh.
So English was absolutely no problem. And I could ask him anything, a lot about language, actually. And the funny thing was we had a deal. I'd go in and tell him an English joke or an American joke, and he'd tell me a Danish joke. So we'd have to try and get each other's humor. So that was a great start. And I did take a class, like an evening class in Danish, because I'm listening to these people and I can't determine one word from the next one. It's just, and I go, what? I didn't get it. So then I could see it written, and then I could figure out, well, there's so many silent letters. That's what makes it difficult. So then I could start hearing the different words. Ah, so that helped immensely. And then of course I got a Danish girlfriend, and that always helps.
Yeah, real quick then, right?
Yeah, right.
Okay. What about, I think of uncontrollable things like weather. What is the weather like compared to what you were used to here and living in Southern California where it's sunny all the time?
Well, the weather in Denmark it's very northerly. I think we're 56 degrees north. So we're equivalent of the southern tip of the Hudson Bay
Oh,
in
wow.
Canada.
Okay.
The weather is very windy. We're in a wind belt. We get tons of wind. We get a lot of rain and not too many sunny days. It's gray, and that's what makes the winters so unbearable. It's just the gray, 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 gray. Yeah.
Sun is limited.
The sun is limited. That's why I like to come to California and visit,
Yeah.
especially in the wintertime.
Getting back to politics, what are there any elections in Denmark?
Yes.
I mean, do you elect representatives like we do in this country? I mean, we have a monarch, so you have a king who is,
But the king is a figurehead.
okay, kind of like in England, where the king doesn't really do much. He's
No.
there, but he has all the stuff paid for. But
Yeah, the king has to sign all the laws, but the parliament is the one that makes all the laws. And we have a one-house parliament, but actually don't know. I'm sure we have at least 10 parties.
oh wow,
And some have, 10 representatives, some have 20, some have 2. So it takes a while to pass a law. They have to make coalitions and things get discussed very well. And I like that. I kind of like that. It's not like a two-party system where it's, cat and dog.
Yeah,
No, it's let's work together and make something reasonable.
you have to because there's not enough of you to do anything on your own.
There's no
Everybody-
majority.
okay.
Exactly.
You gotta work together.
So politics works really well. And it's certainly parliamentary democracy, if I can say that. We have elections. The prime minister determines when the elections are. There's a certain period they have to, but if politics aren't going the way she wants, she can call an election.
Okay, so you don't have elections every 2 years like we do here, or 4 years for president.
Actually, I don't know the period. I think it's at least 4 years.
Mm,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Okay, what about restaurants and stores and things that, like, many of us here have a favorite restaurant or a favorite supermarket or favorite drugstore or whatever like that. What was that like for you to find things like that there that you knew would have the right bread and the right cheese and the right fruit and all of that stuff?
Well, it's funny because when I moved to Denmark, the stores close at 12 or 1 o'clock Saturday, and they did not open until Monday morning.
Oh, wow.
Sunday was a no-go day. Nothing was open on Sunday. No, well, I guess maybe some restaurants, but no stores, no shopping, no bars, no concerts, nothing. And that changed. It changed probably 10 years after I was there. And going into the store, you'll see a lot of the same brands that we have here in the United States.
Okay.
They're international. Pepsi Cola, Coca-Cola, Colgate, you name it, they're all there.
Campbell soup and
Yeah, they're all there. But we have a lot of other brands, of course.
European foods. Now, what about the selection of things that you would find? And is it a supermarket like we think of here, or is it more small corner markets?
In the beginning, it was small markets, family-owned grocery stores. They deliver food to people's houses. That disappeared after about 10 years also because the big grocery store started.
Mm. What about cultural differences? And I'm not even sure what I'm looking for there, so hopefully you can tell me about cultural things that we have here that you might not find there in Denmark.
Well, one thing that I noticed immediately was people are very honest. When they speak to you, they'll say their mind. There's no filter. As an American, I'm maybe a little more diplomatic. I kind of think about what the other person, I don't want to hurt anyone's feelings. They don't care.
Wow.
If your shirt doesn't look good, they're going to tell you it doesn't look good.
Yeah.
Oh, you look ugly today. I'm sorry. And that really offended me in the beginning. I really had to get used to that. I think people from Holland are the same way. They boom, boom, boom. They'll tell you just what they mean, and that took a while actually. I can sometimes still feel it. People say weird things, and I'm going, okay. So that's one thing. And then I'm a musician. I love music. So going to concerts was weird because it's all in Danish.
Well, that's interesting because they all speak English, but
Well, nowadays, a lot of bands will do both,
oh, okay.
or some even just do English because they're looking in a broader market. But in the beginning, I'd go to these concerts and they're all in Danish, and I'm going, what are they singing about? You never know. So that was a shock. And Denmark has a big music. They're very very good at music,
Okay.
and a very prolific theater life. There's a big theater, the Royal Theater in Copenhagen, and they send shows out. And lots of towns have really nice theaters because there's been a long history of traveling.
What kind of things are harder to find there? You
Well, one of the things that I really missed here was the Mexican food.
I guess there are not too many Mexicans in
There were
in
nothing.
Denmark.
You could not go in the store and buy a tortilla. It was crazy. I had my mother send me a box with tortillas in it from San Diego. Yeah, so it took quite a while. Now we have a wide variety of Mexican food now.
Really?
Yes, there's actually an American guy that started a Mexican restaurant in Odense, and it went completely crazy. It was small, but he sold out every night. And he made excellent food. They imported stuff from California.
That's the only
And he actually started another one in Copenhagen, another branch, and actually one near us. And I think they're both still going okay. I haven't been there in a few years, but interesting. Yeah, Mexican food was certainly one of the things that I was missing.
What about other? I was just going to ask. What about other ethnic foods? Are there, like Chinese restaurants, Italian pizza places, that sort of thing in Denmark?
Yep.
And if so, are they popular? Do people enjoy them and like them, or is it pretty much, I stick with the Danish stuff? And
I think there's a lot of ethnic restaurants. Now, Denmark has been open to getting people to come to Denmark, and they've just opened their own stores, restaurants. So you go down to the grocery store, or the guy that's selling all the fruit and veggies, he's probably not from Denmark,
oh, wow.
right?
Okay.
Pizzeria, there's pizzas and pizza places in every little town. Oh yeah, because that's people can do that. Danish restaurants, there's quite a few. Now, most of the high quality restaurants are going to be in the larger towns, obviously. We have a couple of Michelin restaurants. Actually, we have one in our town. Really nice restaurant down by the ocean. It's wonderful. But I would say the variety is good. There's just not as many.
Like I said, so much of what you've brought up is so interesting to me because you think that everything is just the same world round. That we have it here. They must have it in Denmark or Sweden or Italy or China or wherever. And of course, the truth is that no, they don't. It's not like living here. So one of the other things I was thinking about is, what about things you miss from your time being here? I mean, other than being able to get a tortilla at the corner grocery store, but what other kind of things are there that you miss?
I miss the sunshine.
Okay,
I miss the weather, but that's special here to Southern California. What do I miss? Actually, there's not a lot that I miss these days.
Okay. You've adapted, you've become accustomed to where you're living. One of the things that we talked about before we got started was that you now think in Danish as opposed to thinking in English and then translating to Danish. So now when you speak English, you have to get yourself into thinking in English so that you'll remember the words that you need, where now you're thinking in Danish and not thinking in English. So
I'm having a hard time sometimes finding the correct words because I'm not using them enough. They're way back in the back of the computer. So I especially technical stuff or stuff foods and stuff like that. I just don't remember what they're called in
Wow.
English. That's weird. Well, I've been there 55 years.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
And
Well,
one thing,
I did. Yeah, it was one of the questions I was going to ask. I didn't remember that you had been there that long because, I mean, we've known you here, and I knew that you were spending time in Denmark, but I was thinking you were spending more time here than in Denmark. I didn't realize it had been 55 years. My gosh, that's almost all your life, Dan.
yeah,
You were 9 years old when you moved.
I wish. No, I was 23 when I left. That makes me 78 now.
78, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
One
Well,
of, one of the things that I really love about Denmark is the bread.
hmm,
They have the rye bread, and I miss that when I'm here. It's heavy. It's like a pumpernickel, but it's not as sweet as a pumpernickel. And every bakery's got a different recipe. I mean,
It's
they're
a
all
little
different.
different
They're
touch.
all different, and they're so good. And you can buy a whole loaf of it and cut, and then they eat it with the pickled herring.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's a bit different.
Yeah.
And eel, they have smoked eel,
wow. Okay.
which is excellent. Yeah, so they get a lot of fish and a lot of
Well then,
bread.
okay, this is going to reverse the question. When you're here, then you find yourself missing things that you would have in Denmark.
Well, the one thing is the bread,
Okay.
certainly,
Okay.
because I eat that every day,
Oh, wow.
basically.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is, in Denmark, they use the bread and then they put cut lunch meat on it. So it's the open face sandwiches, the
Okay.
smørrebrød, or smørrebrød in Danish, and that's what people get in their lunch buckets,
lunch bucket,
right?
yeah.
That's what kids take to school.
All right, Dan, this has been great. I thank you very much for joining us, and I hope you out there have enjoyed this conversation. Hope you've learned something about what it's like to go to another country and to try and live and figure out how you're going to make it, and how the change would be for you, and how you would handle the change. So thanks for watching. We hope you'll come back and see us again soon.